Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to our first episode of Committed and Covered, all things family and marriage talks.
Yeah.
My name is Nicole Taylor, and this is...
I'm Malcolm Taylor.
And I'm Chantel Wise.
And I'm Joy Wise.
Yes, these are our co-hosts with us today. And today, episode 1 is on communication.
Yes.
Communication.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That topic.
Yeah. Why won't he just listen?
Well, you know what I'm going to say. Why won't you just let me talk? You guys have seen that over and over again. And yes, like Sister Taylor said, this is all things, right? So today, we're just going to have a really good time with each other. And like we normally do, just throw your comments in the chat, even questions, right?
Yes.
And just whatever, guys, because we really want you to be comfortable, right?
Yes.
As if we're talking from our living room couch or dining room table.
Yes.
You can put your elbows on the table today, right? And, the purpose of this is to foster the right communication, right?
Yeah.
Because oftentimes we say there's verbal and nonverbal communication.
It is
But
true.
do you guys know you're always communicating?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And I'm serious, guys. Even if you're asleep, you're communicating.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm sleepy.
Wow.
So whatever we're doing, we are communicating. And sometimes we just don't know that. And so in the marriage bond.
Yes. Well, we'll be married 25 years in July.
Yes.
And then
Really?
you guys have been married how long?
17.
I'll let him answer.
17
Okay.
years.
Okay, good job.
Put him on.
So we know being married, there's just some key issues that you have or you've experienced or experiencing in your marriage. And so communication is always one of those things that we're constantly working on and working to improve. And we know early on in our marriages, there were some struggles, you know, and so we're going to talk about those things today. And we hope that you guys have something, some key takeaway points for you guys. So,
And for the men, I want you guys to already know I am sipping from my cup from Mr. Right. They kept the other word out, and after Mr., it should say always.
Oh, really? Well, see, that's why we're here, ladies,
Yes.
because we're going to set the record straight. We're going to
Yes.
set the record straight.
We are.
But in all transparency, I'm not always right, and probably mostly wrong at times.
Thank you
But
for
I'm
that.
thanking God for His mercy and His grace, because we would have all been consumed, right?
Yes.
Absolutely,
Yes.
So I'm just excited. So is it my turn, babe?
Yes, it is.
Oh yes, it's my turn, and I'm really, really excited because we're gonna jump into this thing with 2 feet. And I think, guys, I don't know about you guys, but communication. Let's look at it this way. Communication starts a relationship, right?
Yes.
Communication either keeps a relationship going,
That's
or
right.
communication ends a
Ends a
relationship.
We know that for sure.
Have you ever thought
We
about
know
that?
that for
sure.
Think
Wow.
about it. Think about it.
Right.
It's power. It's power in communication.
Yeah, like this generation now, you shoot your shot. That's some communication.
That's communication.
I shot my shot to Sister Taylor. I said, hey, look, I've been looking at you and I really think you're a nice lady. Can we spend some time? Can we talk
That was verbal, too.
for a minute? Yeah. It was. So with that, that's communication is huge, guys, because without the proper communication, our relationships really, really kind of dissolve. And with that, we can kind of jump in on our first question, because our first question deals with that. And remember, guys, throw your comments in the chat, because we want you to feel included in this talk.
Yes.
Yes.
And even if there are some questions you may have, we're qualified, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, 20.
I'd say so.
Veterans,
We know a little something.
Yeah, we got some experience under our belt.
Yeah, we like Keith Sweat. We trying to make it laugh. Oh no, it's the Sabbath. We're trying
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
thank
the
you.
theme, the
Thank
theme.
you. Yeah, thank you.
Right.
So drum roll on our question 1, guys, and you can participate with us in this.
All
And
right,
so,
here it
guys,
comes.
we'll just throw it out here. How have you guys experienced unhealthy communication?
Man, we're just gonna start like that.
Like from the
jump.
Yeah.
Well, that's multifaceted. We have experienced bad communication in many ways. It comes to the thing about the cup.
Mr. Right.
I know in our relationship, when we first started, it was a big thing where I just didn't think I was ever wrong.
Wow.
And I wasn't really trying to be cocky or arrogant or anything like that. I just didn't I just thought I was right.
Yeah.
You know, I later learned that I wasn't. And let me tell you, when I found out about that, I felt really vulnerable. I was just trying to question who I was for a moment. I got over that pretty quick. But initially, I really just thought that the problem lied with Chantel.
Wow.
And so it took me a little while.
Yeah.
It took me a little while to kind of get out of that, but she didn't mind helping me.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about it is of course, he's saying that he wasn't right, but he really was right about a lot of things. But it's communication is that approach. You know, it's
And
how
your
you're
perspective.
presenting what you're right about. That's what he said. Why won't he just listen? Well, I just didn't listen. It was that was
so
on
it was
me.
you. So it
Yeah,
was you.
you know, because if you're 100% right, or we'll say what was the stat?
I would say
99?
about 99% is the stat I would give.
Yeah, he
her
would use
about
that.
me.
He would
Yeah.
actually
So
use
you're
that
gonna
number.
prove him wrong.
I would
Right.
just say 99.9. We could ask 99.9% of people right now, and they would agree with me that blah blah blah, and I was certain
So
about
you
that.
just pulling out the stats.
Yeah, I was
on
coming
it.
hard.
And so
man.
that's where the
Yeah.
earplugs go in.
99.9.
Because it's how it was perceived, what he was saying.
Exactly.
And most of it is perception to me. When you're communicating, you're learning to communicate. And we have some don'ts. And so what you're saying is feel the need to be right all the time.
Feel the need to be right
That's a
all
don't.
the
Yeah, that's a
time.
don't.
Because
That's a
we're not-
definite don't.
We're not
That's
right
marriage
all the
killer.
time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm surprised, Choya. You said you always felt like you were right. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
deep, man.
Yeah.
You know, guys, I think that's the macho thing. We try to say, you know, I'm always right. But like in the back of my mind, I know I'm pretty much wrong, right? But it's the macho thing. But you were like serious. You
No,
were like,
I had an actual problem.
okay.
I probably needed some therapy then. Definitely needed therapy then.
Yeah.
But I had a problem, and you know, like I said, Chantel, she helped me to discover that, you know, just through conversations that I needed to consider other options as far as what we were talking about. A lot of times, you know, that would be the thing, is that when we would talk about resolving a problem, it would be based on her making the change, not me having to make the change.
Did y'all hear that?
You know,
Yeah.
when it came to her emotional state, and things were hurting her, and she came to me about them, I would say yes, but and basically just put it back in her lap. But I didn't even look. This went on years and years into our marriage, you all. Years and years into our marriage, and it was kind of almost like addiction, because even after I found out that I was doing it, we would catch me doing it, and then I would just be like, dang, man, because I'm apologizing, because I got to the point where I can offer an apology and say I'm sorry and you were right and things like that. But then I would just move over into explaining why she had something to do with that. And I was like, man, I really do have a problem. So my thing was a little bit different. It was kind of narcissistic, I would say, in a sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, at the point I was in at that time, and you know, we had to work through that.
Yeah. And Michael Wilson said the most significant instance of unhealthy communication for me has been gaslighting.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Making me think I was crazy. Like, for real.
But that happens
know?
sometimes,
Yeah.
especially if, like, you know, if you know in the back of your mind that you're wrong, and instead of admitting that, you do some gaslighting, or you just ignore it and make the person feel like, oh, okay, what you're saying, what you're feeling, that's not right. And that's another don't that we don't want to do.
That's
Yeah.
terrible.
We want to validate our spouse's perception and their feelings about how they feel about something. Because I don't know if it's something in the water with men, but it seems, I don't have any statistics with it, but it seems as if men always think that they're right about everything.
Yeah.
Versus
Well, a lot of
listening to
times we
another
really
perspective.
are, but no.
Is that machismo? Well, you know what? I love it because I'm really listening. That's, you know, I'm kind of chuckling, but hey, man, you serious. And for you, that was a battle. But I'll tell you, I'll be a little bit transparent about me and my wife. Give you guys a little context. We got married. I was 26 and you were
24.
A whopping 24, right? And, you know, we had bad communication. And it was like we wouldn't talk to each other.
Yeah, we would go. We would go a whole week.
Yeah. One
who
time
was gonna get
it was
in.
like 7 whole days and not
just
a
stubborn.
word from you.
Both-
Just,
Yeah.
that's
Be
right.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah,
I'm
7 whole
gonna see-
days.
I'm gonna see how long.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I said, wow, she's pretty strong. I'm like, she
I have a tough one here.
But you know, especially on those instances where I really felt like I was right. And again, that he did not want to see my perspective about it. So we were at a standstill, really. It was like a standstill. Well, okay, who's going to budge?
I had to do the referee thing. I said, hold on, time out. It's
Yeah.
been 7 days.
going on a
you know.
while.
What's
Yeah.
up with that? You know what I mean?
But
You
that's
better
not
than me.
healthy.
No, it's not.
That's
Right.
not
I
far
don't
from
think
healthy.
we're
That's
promoting.
No, no,
we're
no,
not
no,
promoting that.
no.
We're just
That,
But
yeah.
this
These are
happens.
don'ts.
Yeah.
It
So
happens.
yeah, we're laying out the transparency, guys.
Yes.
You know, so
Yeah.
we want you guys to know that there's no perfect couple, but there's people trying to be perfect
Yeah.
inside of
Yes.
being a couple in a marriage.
Absolutely.
So we're just showing you our imperfections as we
Yeah.
learned each other,
Right.
and
And
we
it's-
learned that we couldn't go that long to stay together.
No.
That's
I was,
the don't.
that's a
That's a
don't.
don't.
And,
Yeah.
and, you know, when I look back I would consider myself a girl, although I was
24.
24. You know, I'm a woman now, full grown.
Okay.
And, you know, you learn from those things. Those
Yeah.
were girl decisions. But it was both of us just learning each other, married young, you know, learning each other. But it was not healthy. And so, again, we want to say that's not a healthy way to handle communication.
Yeah.
But thank God for mercy and grace.
Yes. You know, for me, so one of my unhealthy habits was the lack of communication.
Okay.
So not, you know, being able to articulate or just express my feelings, you know, and so that kind of worked against me because here I am with someone who's 99. What was it?
0.9.
99.9.
99.9. It's a chance you was right.
Yeah.
Right, 99.9% that he was right. I mean, I felt like, okay, I can't do anything with that. You know, I don't even know, you know, just having a hard time expressing myself.
Yeah.
So that was a downfall for me. And so I would definitely say that that's an unhealthy means of trying to communicate. Like you need to be able to express your feelings.
I think that it's good to know that there's a problem if you are always right or if you feel that you're always right. That's an indication for anybody, in my opinion, that you actually might be the problem.
Right.
If you're just always right. You know
That's
what I'm saying?
right,
And it's
yes.
always the other person, no matter what it is. You know, I've even had people, you know, come to therapy and it's just like, hey, can you name at least two or three things that you're doing wrong?
Wow.
And they have trouble doing that. You know what I'm saying? And I would have been one of those.
Wow.
I would have been one of those. But that's a sign. And it doesn't mean that's a bad thing. It's not good. What I'm saying is it doesn't mean that it can't be healed over
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
The thing is that when we get to acknowledging that, okay, maybe I need to consider, and what's the thing about me being wrong? That's a lot of times a question too.
Yeah, why can't you?
Yeah, why can't I be
what's,
wrong?
What's wrong with being wrong? I say that being wrong empowers the relationship because now if you're saying that there's a problem that you want solved and I'm doing something wrong and I can fix it, that's an opportunity for
Yeah.
intimacy in my
So
opinion.
Yeah.
I have this question. So you got to the point where you just didn't express yourself. So
I started out not expressing
was
myself.
trying
Now,
to.
I have it together now.
Well, I'm meaning that. So, but
Yeah.
how did that work? Because oftentimes when we don't really express how we feel, there's a build up
Oh,
of
yeah,
something. And
definitely.
then there's an explosion.
Volcano.
So,
Yeah.
So how did?
So
what
there
happened
was
with that?
definitely a build up and a tune out. Like I just stopped listening to anything. Wasn't really interested in any conversations, you know, let alone an argument or a disagreement.
So you was like, whatever.
Yeah,
Uh-huh,
I was
okay.
Yeah, right. So no, it was definitely a build up. I wish that I would have been more vocal, but you know, it is what it is, and then, of course the Lord allowed that to happen that way for a reason. But one thing that did teach me once he started admitting that, hey, I am wrong.
Yeah.
And I started getting, you know, building myself up to voice my concerns. And I realized that, man, I'm not crazy. Like, because I would think that I was crazy.
Yeah. And since you were on those lines, someone did send a question in asking, you know, sometimes when you communicate with your spouse, you want to talk about something that's troubling you. And if you have a spouse that says, whatever, okay, later, you know, that's being dismissive. And we've all been there where we probably said the same, you know, whatever, okay. But we want to say that is a don't, because
Yes.
you're dismissing your spouse's feelings.
Absolutely.
And that's not something that you want to do, because they should be valued just as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, listening to you guys and just hearing everything, you know, we throw out these nuggets while we're going to be talking. And it's like when we are dealing with something, right, we have to confront it ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Our spouses can bring about the awareness, they can make mention of it, but the confrontation has to come from self.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's one thing we want to tell you guys. Oftentimes we confront our spouses. Like Chantel, you could have confronted Choya, like, look, man, boom, boom, boom. But it doesn't resonate as well when the spouse does the confrontation piece of it.
Yeah.
But it's just like on a 12-step program. Until you admit to your
That's it.
dependency, your addiction,
You're in trouble.
we can't take you anywhere. You know, so
That's
when you
good, man.
admit to it,
That's real.
then there's work that can be done. So that's that first part of that unhealthy communication piece. Like, you got to admit to your faults first. Don't put your booze out.
I
look,
agree.
Our
Go
daily
ahead.
dose said, as we have to accept our wrongs in order to confess our sins.
Yes.
So we
Well,
have to
that's good, because I don't think that. So, if you haven't acknowledged yourself, then if I come to you with it, then of course you're not going to see it as an issue, but you can see it more of an issue if you've already did your
Because he's
self-evaluation.
99.9% right. So if you come
What do you do with
Now
that?
need to switch cups.
so if you come to him and tell him, unless
99.
he's confronting it himself.
Yes, it's
You
true.
talking.
I think, you know, and this happens a lot, like Nicole said, with men. But I think that also we need to be open that sometimes we may not, because I was in a bad state, and it was because of my spiritual relationship with God, okay? And so sometimes when you are not connected with God, you just don't see things in the right lens at all, and you're lost, and you don't even know it. So what I'm saying is that there's some brothers out there and some sisters out there that are experiencing things like this, and they don't see that they're wrong. One thing is knowing that you're wrong and admitting to it, but what if you don't think that you're wrong? You know, and you
That's
actually are
powerful.
wrong, but
Yes,
you don't see
yes.
it. And so what I'm saying is I think it's important that regardless of whether you think you're wrong or not, listen to your spouse and
Yes.
try to meet
That's
them
right.
halfway. Try to acknowledge what they're saying to the point
Yes.
where they feel like that something is being worked out.
Yeah, I love
Yes, someone in the chat,
Della Roca.
Della Roca
I believe that's
says
how you
his wife is a therapist, and he feels that every time they have a disagreement, that he feels that he's in the wrong and he's in constant therapy. Now, that's a good one.
That's a
because I
real
wanna
good
say that's my husband
Chantel
is a
fired me
therapist
from
too.
that.
And my husband is a therapist too.
And so I must admit, during those times when
Poor
we are
woman.
trying to, if we have a disagreement, I must say, I have told him, hey, I'm not your client. I'm not your patient. Right now, you're my husband.
I've diagnosed her at least 10 times.
So put that therapist aside.
Separate
Let's
diagnosis.
Y'all both
communicate.
there.
Troy, not even the same
Look,
diagnosis.
Hey,
and look,
you know.
and I've also told him we both in session. We're both in session right now. So hey,
I love it.
So, but you know, communication is one of those things that where we're constantly growing. But we don't want to invalidate our spouse's feelings, discredit how they're feeling, because that's their perception of how, you know, even if you want to say to yourself, that's not what I said, or that's not how I'm feeling. But if they come to you and they're telling you, this is how I'm feeling,
Yes.
you have to recognize that and just accept it.
Yeah.
Well, look
Yeah.
at what Scott Laughinghouse has told us. Great guy, I love him. Humility, right?
Yes, humility
is key. Being able to receive constructive criticism is something we all struggle with.
Yes,
That's real.
yes,
That's real,
yes.
Scott.
You know, I would like to go back to the one about the therapy, because I think and now this is a brother
Why you
on
wanna go
here,
back to that?
right? Well, no, because you all are therapists, and I feel like just to maybe perhaps his wife is listening, and maybe you all can give some tips as therapists of how to not
Malcolm, your eyes
feel
got
like-
big.
of how to not make your spouse feel like they're in a counseling
Right.
session, like some of the questioning, some of the interrogations, like.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty of that. And you know, I'll
Yes,
talk
thank you for
directly to the
admitting that,
thank
too.
you, babe. I'll talk directly to the camera. Now, I'm not I'll say this. you are to use your professional acumen in your conversations, right? I mean, whatever you are. I mean, that's what you go to school for, and that's to talk clearly, right? And that is about different topics and subjects. But as far as the chair to client perspective, that needs to definitely be let go, because although it needs to be a safe space, it shouldn't be
Safe
like,
space.
Your counselor. It's a safe space.
Yeah.
It's a safe
Yeah.
space, whatever you want. But yes, you really want them to feel comfortable. So yeah, I understand how your wife feels and maybe what she might be doing. And then there's another thing too. We quickly assume that the person is giving us a session, because that's in our mind.
Yes, you do.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Sometimes it's an assumption as well.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
And, I'll speak
Yeah.
back over what Malcolm said. I'll say, this is the thing. Find out if you have an issue with failure, okay? Not that I necessarily had an issue with failure, but I know a lot of people that struggle with this often have issues with failure, and sometimes we start feeling like it's failure if I'm wrong.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? Okay. But from one therapist to another therapist, right?
Yeah.
Because we're feeling this. I think it's up to the therapist. We know that part of functional behaviors in a marriage is that I'm supposed to please my spouse. So if I'm not accomplishing that, and the means for how I'm saying that's supposed to be done is just them making the changes, then that's problematic in itself.
Right.
I'm supposed to be figuring this thing out on my own, not really needing them to make all the adaptions. And that's what I started to recognize, is that I need to be able to be credentialed as a great spouse by my
I
wife.
love that.
Yeah.
I do too.
I need to
That's
be
right.
able to be credentialed to be a great.
Yes,
Did you like that, babe?
I
love
I trying to get my
that.
degree in that
You
thing.
got it,
You know
you
what I'm saying?
got
My
it.
master's.
A licensed
You
husband.
have
A licensed
PhD
husband.
in your wife. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So in order to accomplish that, I have to be checking in.
That's
Yeah.
And then even after you get the degree, what happens? You still have to be
gotta work
getting
on
your
it.
CEU,
Continue
your
there.
continuing education. Come on now,
Continue
man.
there,
Okay.
You gotta get your CEU, baby. You know what I'm saying? So I'm still learning. I don't know we
Yeah.
ever master. We
Right.
might get a
No.
master's, but I don't know that we ever mastered.
No,
I mean,
we don't.
no.
We
What
don't.
Angela said.
Angela said that this is a very interesting conversation, but bear in mind that sometimes the other person may not be ready to face or have that conversation at this time. So you may want to be gentle and ask him to set the time. Yeah, and that is a part of
I agree.
communication
That's
too.
good.
Sometimes when one person is ready to keep discussing the topic and it's gotten really heated, then the other person wants to stop. So that person, the rule
Is that
of
you or
thumb,
Malcolm? But I'm the one that does that with us.
I typically say what I need to say, and if you don't keep coming at me, I'll
wanna
stop.
keep talking.
But
I just think it's cute that Angela said him. and
Yeah, she did say
I mean,
him.
she that's gender specific, but and we're gonna.
That is.
Yeah, it is. But we'll always keep it biblical too, because the Bible tells us to let patience have its perfect work. Right. So in our marriage, right, we got to
Yes.
work on that too, guys. So if we're a praying couple.
Come on.
That's
Right.
right.
So we're going to keep this biblical side in it too as well. So if we're a praying couple, because that is a key ingredient, because my wife and I, we had some bumps and bruises to figure that out. Right. So we've got to let patience come in there. And that's in the book of James, if you haven't heard that before, about
right.
letting
Yes.
patience have its perfect
I
work.
love that.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
You know, back and I'm not trying to stay on the therapy thing. I'm
Yeah,
not.
that's
think
good.
you are.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
but,
it's
you
all
know,
right.
but no, because my heart went out to that gentleman that put that up there. You know, I can resonate
You
with
feel his
him.
pain.
I feel his pain. But what I would tell Choya is like just basically
Stop
the things
diagnosing
that well, yes, please don't try to diagnose
That's
me.
right.
Okay. But then the other thing is what you tell your clients to do in their marriages when it comes to communication. I need you to do that.
That's right. That's
Practice
right.
what
now you're
you're
saying I'm a hypocrite.
teaching. No, I'm not
Yeah,
saying you're a
well,
hypocrite.
that's what it sounds
No,
like.
I'm not saying you're a hypocrite. I'm just saying like, you know, and so if you do that, I think having a therapist as a spouse,
real,
if
though.
you will
Yes.
practice what you're
Practice what you
teaching
preach.
your clients, man,
Be right.
y'all will be
Well-
winning. Like,
Yeah,
Right.
well,
That's the winning formula, y'all.
well, Rose, she put an Auntie Ellen quote in there where husbands and wives are in a school of learning of which they will never graduate.
And that's true. Even now, we're talking about earlier on in our marriages and, you know, over time, communication is always constantly,
Yeah.
you know, evolving, and you have to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
But another don't that I wanted to bring up is that if your spouse come to you with an issue, instead of receiving that issue, you turn around and present them with an issue instead of addressing the
that's so
issue that
good.
your spouse presented to
Man,
you.
Nicole.
You read all that. And
I did.
but you know, Lamont just put a 911 in there. I know we're laughing and smiling, but Lamont, I'll take you very serious on that one,
Yeah.
Lamont. When you said I need a therapist, I'm failing a lot. And you know, self-defeat, you know, is from the devil.
Yeah, I don't like that F word. Yeah.
We want you to know that self-defeat is from the devil.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your transparency even in the text chat. But you know, and there's nothing wrong with seeking Christian therapy, right? You can talk to your pastor, you can talk to people that you trust,
Yeah.
you know, that you trust that have sound information as well,
Yes.
to lead you to somebody who can listen to you and give you sound information back. But yes,
Yeah.
I appreciate your transparency, and don't allow that we'll say it, the F word, right, Troy?
Yeah.
Don't allow that to be in your vocabulary, because you know, the Bible says a just man falls 7 times.
Come on.
Yeah.
And that's not just a number, that's a perfect number. We keep falling, but a just man gets back up.
And
So
long as
yeah,
you're
we
trying,
Lamont, you know,
by being
keep
here now.
keep pushing forward.
Yes.
And wherever you are, you know, let us know, Choya, one of us, we might be able to steer you to somebody where you are. But you can definitely email us or something. But we'll go back to the other question, baby.
Nicole,
Yeah,
I
ooh.
think we should give an example of
that's
that,
some
because
heat
that's
now.
that's a good one.
That's some
Let's
heat.
give an example. Oh, okay. So if I don't want to read the question again, but basically the example I'm going to give is like if I go to my husband and I tell him, I was like, hey, babe, you know, I wish you would really pick up those towels that you're leaving right there by the basket. And so he says to me, well, you left a towel
Oh man.
in the room. So what he has just
I
done.
need my cup.
So what he
Mr.
has
Right,
yeah,
Mr. Right need a sip.
Yes. So I presented him with an issue that I had, but instead of just saying, you know what, okay, babe, I'll do that, he threw an issue at me. So why do we do that sometimes?
Yeah.
You know?
Ooh.
I think not wanting to take accountability is a big
Yes.
issue in relationships. Like you have to. I'm just gonna put it out there, because even with the whole 99.9, I'm sorry to keep going
Put it
back
out
to
there.
that
Put it out there.
She going back to a lot of stuff.
That and
99.9%,
therapy.
right?
That and-
Like I just really think like we have to get rid of the P word, pride, in our relationships, in marriage. Like when you can't take accountability, like you put the towels on the floor. Like what's wrong with just acknowledging that you put the towels on the floor? But it's almost like I can't be wrong, so we go back to
That's
being
right.
right. And
Yes,
so,
yes.
but what I do is I turn it around on you and call out a flaw of yours when that's not even what we're dealing with.
No.
I think it's lack of accountability, wanting to take it, and I think pride is a major issue that we hold on to in marriage that we need to let go of.
Yes,
that's a big
and you said it. I mean, really, everything that you said is really it's pride, and we have to humble ourselves. And if your spouse comes to you with an issue, that particular whatever time of day, address that issue and not bring up another issue to offset what your spouse has said to you. You know, humble ourselves. You know,
Yeah.
You guys actually touched on what Carla and I'll just abbreviate your name. I'm sorry, Dell, both just said. You know, about the about the fact of, you know, throwing it back at your spouse.
Yes. Yeah. It's just humble yourselves and receive the constructive criticism or whatever it is that they're asking you or to do.
Yeah.
Just let it go. Our brother says projection. That's what it is projection.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah,
So
Yes.
You know, being like Christ is really, really tough, right? Because, you know, and that what would Jesus do thing.
Yes.
You know, guys, I'm still throwing those spiritual nuggets in there. And
No, you have to, though.
You pray like, Lord, let me be like you, but we really don't. You know what I mean? I'm just being honest, you know, transparent. We really don't, because if my spouse says something to me that I don't like, you know, if I'm like Christ, I'm not coming back at my spouse in a more rude way, right? So it's kind of one of those things where I need to, if I'm going to be like Christ, accept what my spouse is saying. And then if there's a problem, we can address it at another time when it doesn't seem like I'm trying to change what my spouse has requested or what my spouse is
Right,
saying.
and as Tracy says, some people listen to defend instead of listening to understand.
That's true.
You know, we
Taking
instantly, we instantly, when our spouses says something to us, we are not listening because we're ready to defend what is being said to us.
I have Tracy, thank you for saying that, because I have an example that I can use for that. And these are all
get out
don'ts.
today.
So no,
these are don'ts.
these are all don'ts. We're just trying to teach some healthy communication styles, right?
right.
So I know
got some
for
good
us, which it doesn't happen anymore. That's what I'm saying. Like, we're growing.
Yeah.
But someone said in Adventist homes that that is quoted from Adventist homes that we will never graduate,
That's
right?
right.
Like, we're gonna constantly be evolving and growing, you know. So I'm happy to say that, you know, we have some strong communication skills now. But so we're in a disagreement, and as I'm stating my claim or my grievance, the whole time I'm talking, you know, your spouse shaking their head like they don't.
Right.
So I can't even finish my thoughts because now I'm distracted. And why are you shaking your head while I'm talking? But what you're also doing, what he's doing was he was forming his defense,
Yeah,
his
I'll
comeback.
take
Yes.
notes sometimes.
So
like,
everything
right
else
beside
I've
me.
said, everything else I've said has gone in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, he's
You know,
ready for his
so
rebuttal.
that is like, we have to have those active listening. I think we'll get into that a little bit. I think Nicole.
Yeah, well, Kristen,
to do.
Kristen says she's guilty of listening to defend at times.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
Well,
we
Mom-
all are. We all
Yeah.
have been, especially depending on what it is that your spouse comes to you and talk about. You know, you know your spouses. You know each other, and definitely if you're coming at me with more than one constructive criticism. Now, if you're coming at me with 2 or 3, I've already blocked you out. So really, that's one of the don'ts.
The don'ts.
Don't go to your spouse with 2 to 3 different issues. Just
At the
present
same
them with
time.
one.
Yeah,
Nobody's
don't
supposed to be
layer 'em.
crit-
That's all.
don't layer, man.
Because I mean, with just one issue, you could start off with that one and end up in 5 different argument situations or 5 different
Yes,
subjects
yes.
just from that one.
But you know what I was just thinking about when you said that, especially when you were dealing with somebody who doesn't want to take accountability. So you think that if they don't take accountability for one
one
thing,
thing,
you think
yeah.
5,
2 or 3
you know,
things,
2 or
no.
3 things. No, they're not gonna do it.
I think it's important to focus on, like, when we're having these exchanges, what is my objective? Like, when I'm talking to you, is my objective to take notes and to be right and to make you wrong? Or is my objective to try to resolve the problem? And for me, when I was having that issue, my objective was not to solve the problem. My objective was to prove that I was
To be
right.
That's
right.
good.
To be right.
That's good.
Right.
And you know, guys, and this is another thing too. You've got to have one platform at a time, and I'll break that down. So, like, if my spouse comes to me and presents a problem, that's her platform to present that problem,
like
and that's
that.
what we talk about.
Yeah.
I can't then get on my platform because now she has to stand on hers and I have to stand on mine, and we're not together.
Yeah.
So now we both have bullhorns trying to get our points across.
I like that.
So, you know, of course, that's the human thing. You want to get on your platform too, because you know, how dare she or how dare
Dare
he?
he, yes.
You know, let me give them that right act. So yeah, you got to let them have that platform. Grit your teeth, be like Jesus.
But that's also that brings up like another don't.
Yeah.
If you're talking to your spouse about a particular issue, but then your spouse starts talking about something from last week, last month. No, let's keep it here today. We're only talking about what you presented today. Please do not come at me from last week or last month. And now I'm saying this, if it's something, of course, deeper than, you know, we're talking about some communication issues, but if it's something much more deeper, then we know that do happen. But, you know, for some basic communication purposes, talk about what's being presented at hand, because if you get off track talking about something from last week or last month, then you're all over the place.
Yeah.
And you've taken it off of what the issue was supposed to be at that time. You know, so keep it with one issue and let the other stuff go.
I think an appropriate time to pull in something old is if it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you continuing to do the same thing that I've addressed. So I may have to say, you did it last week,
Yes.
or you did it a month ago, and I addressed it. You know, so that's appropriate, but
Right.
it can't be
Different
topics.
I'm talking about different
like,
topics,
yeah.
you know, because then you're talking about, well, what? You forget what you really started
Exactly,
discussing.
Yeah.
And you know what, guys? I'll throw another nugget out there too, because I tell some of my clients, you know, if you have a person that you're trying to discuss something with and you can never get a word in, because that does happen.
Yes.
And you really want to make things work, you can write it out, right? You write them that letter. And I always say, start your letter out with a compliment. I love you and I appreciate our marriage and these things. And, you know, but that's a conjunction that cancels out things. But you can say, but I need to tell you such and such, right? Because a person can't argue with a letter because you're not around, right? And then you can just say, please, can we discuss this at a later time that best suits you and me, and we can sit down and talk.
And I know for me, in my head, I will have what I want to say, and it sounds right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It does.
But when it comes out,
It sounds right to her.
Yeah.
The way that seems right.
Yeah.
but
She's leaning to her own understanding. That's her problem.
But when it comes out, it's not always the best. And I've learned over time, like, that's not what I meant to say.
I don't
But
like you. I didn't mean it like that.
But that's not what I meant to say. But when you so when you do that, you can't take back what you've said.
That's true.
Even though you did not mean it that way. And so for me, that happened quite a bit. So what I had to start doing is, in those moments where we had deep discussions, sometimes I just can't say anything at that time.
Yeah.
Because if I do, I'm like, it came out the wrong way, and you can't take back words.
Yeah.
Feelings are hurt. No matter what you say, you can be like, I really did not mean to say that, but it's said.
Yeah.
So over time, what I had to learn to do is just wait, hold my mule, wait, and then go to Malcolm and say, you know what, from the conversation we had earlier,
You're right.
these are my thoughts.
God, you're right.
No.
What did Sharon say?
These are my thoughts. So, you know, but Sharon says we got to practice active listening with our spouses, our speaking, so that they can have our undivided attention.
Yeah.
And that's true, Shannon. Sharon, excuse
Yeah,
me.
we live on this 80-20 rule. It's just 80-20 all the way around. You know, like, so you look at the 80% good about your spouse versus the 20% bad. That's the same thing with conversation.
Yeah.
Conversations are 80% listening.
Well, it's active listening.
Yeah, 80% listening, 20%
Right,
conversation.
right.
Because
Yeah.
when you give them that listening piece, you know.
Yeah.
I think that kind of piggybacks on, like, when you have those individuals that's very critical. Usually these are the same people that don't validate their partners. So it's like you said, we're always talking about negative things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's another sign for someone who is wondering, hey, do I fit into that category of knowing it all or just being a problem as far as the communication? Am I validating my spouse? Yeah, they could be screwing up a lot and messing up a lot of stuff, but am I telling them what they are doing good?
Wow.
That's
If I
right.
can't tell you what you're doing good, that's
Always
another
tell them wrong.
red flag.
You're actually speaking to what Minnie just said.
Oh, okay.
The damage is already done.
When you say certain things, the damage is already
the damage
done.
is already done.
But
Yeah.
you just said validate them.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked about, have we talked about nonverbal cues?
Ooh, no.
Body language? Oh, now that's a bad one. That is something I definitely have had to work on.
Wow.
Malcolm is really keen on looking at my body language. Even if I don't say anything, he'll say your face, your eyes, your body language. And so
That's a therapist in him.
yeah, that's the therapist.
It's husband too. It's husband too. Because I'm like, you know, if looks could kill, you know.
But you know, so I've had
My
to,
funeral.
because I know he's that's the first thing he's going to look at is my body language, and I have had to practice that and work on it. Be like, yes, yes, darling, yes.
Hey,
That's a tough one though, Nicole,
It is,
because
it
like,
is.
I mean, me and Chantel, we sometimes have our discussions about the body language because I don't know that. I think we've had some breakthroughs, but I don't think that Chantel thinks that she exhibits body language, you
okay.
know, and so you know, so because I can feel something is about to come before it comes. But then she's like, nothing was about to come, but I'm saying it came.
But see,
You know?
but see, I'm glad you brought that up too, because oftentimes too, in marriages, when your spouse has presented you with an issue and they ask you, can you work on this? Can you not do this? So the spouse is actively trying to work on this, but because you're so used to a spouse acting one way, even when they haven't done it again, you're assuming that they're
You
going
do.
to do it. So you're
Okay.
not giving them credit for even
Ooh,
trying.
that's
that's
good,
tough,
Nicole.
not
That's a
already.
good one. That's a
I
good
wanted
one.
to
That's a good
say-
one. Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah, I
have
wanted to
friends.
share what Karen put up about what a wise man said to her about being able to walk away from disagreements. Yeah, right there, right?
Okay.
That's
So
right.
yeah. You have to be able to understand when to walk away.
And then Carla says we have to taste our words.
I like
before,
that,
I like
Carla.
that, Carla, before we
Yeah.
speak.
Bitter
And
words.
that's true. That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, and we'll use that Bible reference again in James. The tongue. There's a lot of power in the tongue.
Yes. yes.
That's
Right,
a whole
so-
fire.
Yeah. So even if you
Force
said
fire.
some things that you can't take back, you
Yeah.
can make up with that same tongue by giving words of affirmation, like what you said, Choy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Sweet words out the mouth.
So let's talk about some do's. We've
Okay.
been talking about the don'ts.
And
So
do's.
we
We've been putting some do's in there.
Some do's in there, too.
So what about, we've talked about learning to be proactive listener. We have to be active listeners, guys, and not ready to defend instantly when our spouse is giving us some constructive criticism. But we have to learn to keep our emotions in check too, because you know some of us can be drama queens and drama kings, right?
Really?
And we have
Not
to
me.
learn to keep our emotions in check when we're with our spouses, because sometimes we can get our feathers ruffled and we come out of ourselves, and so we want to practice how we react to what our spouse is saying, because we got to also remember that our spouse is not our enemy. They're not supposed to be
They're
our
not supposed
enemies.
to be
Let's
our
just say that.
Yeah.
And so we got to, if we're with our spouses and we know that they love us, look at it as if they're coming to us in love to help us and to help the marriage.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Some friends had done a presentation. They said when we talk to each other, to make sure that we say,
I have an enemy, but it's not
it's
you.
not you. Sometimes
Yeah.
we get confused. Sometimes we get confused.
Right,
And it's
right.
the enemy that's bringing about the confusion. But, I think we just have to change the way we have tough conversations, and that takes, I think, trust building. We have to have those wins and those breakthroughs to where I actually come to you with something that's a concern for me, something that I need, something
Right.
that bothers me, and then I'm seeing that you're responding to me in a positive way,
Yes.
that I can feel like that you're on my team.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Because a lot
Yeah.
of times we're not, I don't know if we should say fighting, but we're not engaging as if we're on the same team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wear my jersey. That's I
Yeah.
love to tell
Oh, yeah,
Nicole
he says that all
Wear
the
my
time.
jersey.
Wear my
That's what's up.
jersey. And then I have to throw it back on him. Wear my jersey.
Yeah, I like
Okay?
that.
So yeah.
Yeah.
But oftentimes too, when you're going through something tough, you think you're supposed to stay up all night and talk about it.
I do
One person,
sometimes.
Malcolm, he is
I
like
can't.
that. And I'm like,
Get it all out.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's okay to take breaks. Is what
Yeah,
I'm
take
saying.
breaks. Yeah.
Take breaks.
Agreed upon breaks. Remember?
Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed
agreed
upon
upon
breaks.
breaks.
Take
Yeah.
a break after I'm finished. Yeah,
Hey, that's the one I like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
take a
yeah.
break. You're right. Take a
Yeah.
break.
But it's okay to take a break and table it,
Yeah.
get some rest, and then come back. But the person that needs the break has to be the one to come back to bring the conversation
That's a
back to the
great
table.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really?
Uh-oh.
I'm just being funny. I'm just being funny. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So,
What about
community
the?
hands.
I don't know if you got in the rules.
Oh, dudes.
I was reading what Community Hand said. Some spouses only tell you the negative; they never affirm.
Yeah.
gotta
And that's
pray for 'em.
unfortunate, but that's something that it definitely needs to be a matter of prayer.
And Derek asked, "How does a husband treat?" Or he said treat, but maybe deal with a disrespectful wife.
Can I comment on the other one?
Yeah, go ahead.
And this is for husbands or wives. A lot of times when we don't affirm, it's because we don't feel affirmed. Not saying that's because of the spouse, but it's somebody mentioned earlier, projection. So a lot of times one of the telltale signs is to how a person feels about themselves is how they treat others.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and then also it's something that's cultured to us. If I was in an environment to where it was just a lot of negative, no building up and things like that, I'm probably going to feel not so good about myself because all that negative that I've taken in. But then also because of that insecurity a lot of times is built up, then I'm going to project that over to someone else. So in a situation with, I don't know what her name was, where she's mentioning that I'm not feeling affirmed. You may not see it because your spouse may seem as though they're very confident. They may be charismatic. People may look to them for answers, but I'm telling you, the majority of the time, the issue is they are insecure within themselves, and that's why they're not able to affirm you.
And even like what you said, that enculturation, like what you learn growing up, sometimes you don't learn the soft answers, like who our parents were, like, your parent can call you certain names and they're not affirming
It's not a real
or endearing. And then you kind of bring that into your marriage too.
Yeah.
And someone asked the question, what do you do with, but basically if your wife is disrespectful or if you have a spouse, the husband is disrespectful. For me, I think that's where counseling comes into play to see why the disrespect is there. Is that something we want to be with our spouses? No, we don't agree with that, but I suggest counseling to help work that out.
And this is a transparent moment too. Like, and Donna, I will let Nicole get her rest. That's funny. But like for us, my wife, she came and told me one time, she said, well, I really don't like the way you say certain things to me. And I didn't see that, and instead of saying, I don't believe it, that's not true, I told her, I'm sorry, and that was one of the first times I really like dug deep in my heart and said, you know what, I need to apologize for that. And I said, you know what, from here on, I will not talk in that fashion. I just thought I was being manly, But she said that's just too rough.
Yeah, the tone,
the tone.
It's the tone for me. If you come at me with a certain tone, I've already tuned you out.
She blocked me.
You are tuned out until you get it together. So the tone is everything as well. But he did, I must say, thank the Lord that he worked that out because somebody's about to get chopped.
Yeah, my main man Snell said this is a blessing. We appreciate that. The doctor in the house. Thank you, brother preacher.
So some more do's is be open-minded to your spouse's perspective.
Yes.
Ooh.
Please.
I'm
feeling that.
Yeah, I'm feeling it
Please,
because it's piggybacking on the other statement that was made. This is the thing, and repeat that again for me because I want
The do's is be open-minded to your spouse's perspective.
Yes. So a lot of times when our spouses bring information to us, we may not agree or think that it's stupid. It doesn't make sense. I'm saying that I didn't like that, like you said, with the tones or something like that. And I'm like, because the experience in my world with tones was not your experience. So I might think that doesn't make sense to me. And I feel that it's so important a lot of times as we're trying to learn. Like I said, this was a problem for me, that we pay attention to try to just hear our spouses out. It doesn't have to make sense. Sometimes we get stuck the most because we're trying to make sense out of what our spouse is saying. And that's why I said we had a saying, it's not about being right, it's about being understood. So we're trying to understand each other. Understanding doesn't always mean I really understand your thinking. Understanding means that I understand you have a need for me to listen to you and to reciprocate positive responses and things like that. And so I don't have to have it figured out or even agree with what you're saying that you need to change for.
Yeah, that's true.
I know for me, like I have gotten to a point to even if because it is all about perception, but I would apologize even if I don't feel like I did anything wrong, but the fact that it hurt my spouse. And he's able to say, I was offended when you did that. I may think it's stupid. I may think it's petty, but that's okay. It's his feelings, and because our goal and aim is to please one another, then I'll go ahead. I just have to take an L on it. It's all right.
Yeah,
Sometimes you're gonna have to take an L.
I pray on that one to this day, because she will tell me, Nicole will tell me that she has a problem with something I said. I'm like, Lord, please, I need to say I'm sorry or something, but it's like, ooh. That enemy just be on your shoulder talking about you.
But our sister Tanya says sometimes it's hard to learn that we have blind spots, but giving each other grace as we grow and learn to change our ways is the key. And it is the key because it's a work. It's a work. It's not. It just doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and we have to give each other grace. But another do is tell each other what you want rather than what you do not want. Because it's better if you say, you know what, like if I say Malcolm, like I recently told him, I miss. We used to buy snacks.
Date night thing.
Yeah, our date night thing. We would buy snacks, and we got our playlist, music playlist, and we would play Scrabble in the bed or cards or whatever. And I didn't say you hadn't done this in a while.
Yeah,
I
that's
just said that I miss that. And so we need to be able to tell our spouses what we want versus always saying what we don't want. Nobody wants to hear all the negativity, but just say, hey, this is what I want, or this is what I need.
Yeah. Well, that could have went real south, so I'm sure your approach was everything on that, you know.
Because I use I statements.
Yeah.
That's another do.
I tell you, one of the turning points for us when it comes to communication was when I started taking the focus off. Just say, we had an argument or disagreement. I started taking the focus off of Choya and placing it on myself, like doing my own self-evaluation, trying to grow. And so one of the things that we started doing was after the fact, I'll come and say, hey, what could I have said differently? Or how could I have played that out differently? What could I have done? Where did I mess up? But, now that's a hard question because that's all humility wrapped up with a bow on it, you know? You know what I'm saying? Because now I have to hear what he says. But it's okay because I'm trying to grow, right? So I hear what he's saying, and then I'm gonna put that in practice so that if we hit a bumpy spot again in the road, then I won't make that same mistake. Now I may have another one up my sleeve, but I won't make that same mistake.
Yes. And what you're saying, I agree with that because we had an argument one time, and I was riding into a job that I was doing. And I was livid. I was like, boy, when I get home, Nicole, and I was working it up. I was hot. She says, was 38 hot? I was hot. Y'all, I was hot. Y'all, I was hot, right? But, the Holy Spirit, that's like letting him have that perfect word. It's like he slapped my thoughts. And he said to me, don't you think she's just as mad as you? I was like, wow, that is true. We both were arguing. And it was like, he was like telling me, like how you said you work with your husband and I work with my wife. He was telling me, look, both of you guys are angry. So you need to get out of your feelings, work on what you guys are talking about. And then when you come back together, it's not a he said, she said, a knockout, drag out.
Right.
So that was really big for me when I had to realize, when we are angry, we both are angry.
Right.
Yeah.
And we, over the course of our marriage, we have always told each other that if we're going to be in this marriage, we got to get this thing, try to get it right, because we don't want to be in an unhappy marriage, together, just miserable and looking at him side-eyed on the couch. So it's really, we talk about active listening, but it's also really humbling yourselves to say, you know what, I was wrong.
Yeah.
And what can I do to make it better? What can I do with my communication piece? Because someone also mentioned in the chat about, when you're talking about feelings and someone's hurt, you have to make a compromise.
Yeah.
Well, in marriage, that's it. You have to compromise. You might not still agree on this issue, but for the sake of it, you just say, hey, I regress.
Even Pastor Snell put in the chat, open-mindedness.
Open-mindedness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chantel, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, I was going to say, you have, on some things you just have to agree to disagree, and we just move on,
Yeah. Someone says in the chat, do you all go to bed angry? No, that's funny.
Tell the truth, shame the devil.
Tell the truth. Yes, we have gone to bed upset. Okay, I wouldn't say angry, but upset.
Angry.
But how I know how bad
all
it
of
is,
that.
Yeah, how I know how bad it is because it's hard for me to go to sleep if I can't tuck my feet under his legs, right?
That's cute.
So if I inch my feet over. And if he moves that leg a little bit, I know he's hot.
That's true.
I know he's hot.
But even the Bible says, "Be angry and sin not." That's why you can be angry.
Well, now I was gonna say, we could be upset, but we'll still say goodnight. We'll still kiss each other before we go to bed.
Still pray.
But So
She's
yes, to
stuttering.
answer your question, I mean,
yeah.
unresolved. I won't say angry, but we do go to bed with unresolved issues.
Yes.
I can't
Yes.
tell you what we do because we tried to make the rule that we were not going to go to bed angry in that, and we still try to do that. But what we do is try not to have extended periods of time. If not that night, that day, to where the next day, to where somebody's got to come up and we got to give an apology, kind of sort things out. Hey, I was wrong. Okay, your turn next. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Rushing and being anxious to be the first one to apologize, which is another difficult
Right.
thing. But I think that works too.
And Donna says you will never sleep well if you go to bed angry. Now, I will admit,
You
Donna,
sleep-
you
you
are
sleep
right.
pretty good. I mean,
Oh,
you
I can't
sleep-
believe this. Wear my jersey.
Yeah, I do.
Wear my
I'm sorry,
jersey.
baby.
But no,
She sleeps
you
pretty
are
good.
right. There's some tossing and some turning. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. But we have gone to bed upset. Is that the best thing to do? No,
No.
but it's real. Keeping it real,
Yeah.
we have.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can I piggyback too
Yeah.
on the thing about being wrong? I think it's also good for folks to know that when your partner gets it up in them to admit that they were wrong and say, "Hey, my bad." Don't ride them on that. Just a lot of times it's good to just be like, I know that I know you was wrong. That's what I'm saying. And I'm tired of that.
I knew it.
It takes so much just to admit
Right.
that for a lot of us, it takes a lot to
Yes.
admit that you were wrong. And so if your partner is getting it in them to bring that to the table, just let it ride. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Just say, "Hey, thanks. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention."
Then that's having
just,
that
just
safe-
drop it, man. Just let it
that
go.
safe
that
space
time.
for them to be able to do
Absolutely.
that. Because if your
Yeah.
spouse come to you and then you riding them, they be like, why did I even do it?
Yeah.
So just let it go. Yes.
Y'all, we have come to the 2-minute time frame.
Oh,
serious?
wow.
Already?
Yeah, we got 2 minutes left. And,
Man, I was about to get a plate of food and come back.
yeah, I know. When you get up from the table, Shanta, can you get me something to drink?
yes.
Yes.
Wow.
So we've talked about some don'ts, guys, and if you missed some of them, you're just joining us. It's in the chat, some of the don'ts that we've talked about when it comes to communication, and we've also talked about some of the do's of the communication. But one thing for sure is we always want in our marriages to put Christ first,
Yes,
and go in prayer, with your spouse to if there's something that you can work on and you need to work on. Let's do that, but we want to be active listeners. We want to listen.
Yeah.
We want to humble ourselves. And what else, babe? What you want to do?
Well, I want to just love on you, girl.
Hey.
Like I say, you got to treat your marriage like a bank, and you got to put love on deposit. Because if you don't put love or anything on deposit, there's no withdrawals.
Right.
Because there's insufficient funds, and we don't want that. So, as we begin to land this plane, I had a bunch of fun with you guys.
No,
Hey,
this
was
was
awesome,
awesome.
man.
Thank
This
y'all
was
so
awesome.
much for
I
having
can't believe
us.
the time went by so fast.
Yes. And I'm telling you guys, you are looking at 4 lumps of clay sitting here, and God is shaping us. And what we're trying to tell you guys today, if you in your marriage, in your relationship, as God is shaping you, let's not point out the cracks and the flaws, but know that we're in it together as God is shaping us both, and we are to congratulate each other on how we move forward in the grace of God. So I'm just so excited.
Yeah,
I really am.
and I want to share with them our next episode 2 is June the 17th. What did I say, babe?
I didn't get that.
We
You
just
did. I got
talked
it.
about
June 17th,
communication.
baby. I heard you this time. I heard it.
June 17th.
Yes.
Our next topic is going to be on Let's Talk About Sex.
Baby.
There's a whole lot wrapped up
I
in
gotta
that.
tune in for that
Y'all
one.
make sure you tune in. And for our episodes, guys, we have co-hosts, we have guests, we'll have some therapists, some people in the field, and we just have some people that have marital experiences. And sometimes the platform will be used for women's ministry, men's ministry, and singles ministry, all about family life ministries. And so we thank you guys for joining us and for being here, and we hope that you were able to get some key takeaways. And we thank our co-hosts today, Chantel and Troya.
Yeah,
Thanks
we
for having
love
us.
you.
It was fun.
And guys, we really love you guys out there.
Yes.
And remember, you can always connect with Oakwood University Church and let us know where you are, what you need, how you're doing, and even your own personal ministry where you are, however we can help you. please reach out to us. The pastoral staff, Debbie Snell, our senior pastor, and his associate pastors, and our team, we're just ready to just help and assist, because I don't know about y'all, I'm ready for Jesus to come on.
That's right.
I do.
Can't
So
come
we'll
past
end in this prayer. We'll leave a prayer with you guys. Dear Lord, we just want to thank you so much for the gift of marriage. Because when sin came in and our foreparents were removed from the garden, Lord, you let us keep the ordained movement of marriage and the Sabbath. So Lord, today is the Sabbath. We're talking about marriage and increasing our wellness. So we thank you, Lord, and we ask that you keep everyone who is on the line with us and bless us and save us when you come. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, guys.